Happy New Year. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. We've got a bunch of people in the chat room tonight with us. How are you? Somebody all the way from South America? That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, happy New Year. It is 2018, our very first Pets Plus live Beyond the Pages. My name is Candace D'Agnolo, and I have a special guest with us tonight. Our special guest is in the background. We're going to bring him on in a little bit. Tonight, though, we are talking about sustainability. Now, these Pets Plus live Beyond the Pages are an opportunity for you to connect directly with the experts that are in the magazines. I'm your show host, Candace D'Agnolo, the founder of Pet Boss Nation. I'm also a columnist for Pets Plus. And in each of these Beyond the Pages episodes, we get to go on a journey together where you get to go, like I said, beyond the printed pages, connecting you directly with the experts and the contributors, providing you also an opportunity to chat directly with me and also with the people that we're featuring. Plus, we usually have Pets Plus magazine people online as well. So you get to talk to all of us that help contribute to make sure that this magazine is amazing. So don't be shy. We want you to chat in the comment threads like you already have been. And if you have any questions throughout the whole talk, just put them in the chat. And Christina, our customer care specialist and assistant coach at Pet Boss Nation, will flag them for me to bring up on the conversation today. Now, helping pet professionals is a huge passion of mine. And just like Pets Plus, that's why we work together. We team together a lot because we believe in helping businesses like you see a better business life. I do this through business consulting services at Pet Boss Nation. I help mostly retailers, but lots of pet businesses with inventory planning, cash flow roadmaps, marketing strategies, promotions, HR help, all kinds of stuff. I do it through one-on-one clients coaching, or I do it through my group coaching experience, the Pet Boss Club. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Pets Plus. Pets Plus, if you are joining us for the first time or if you just became a reader of the magazine here, it is the pet industry's newest publication and is an essential... Yeah. Uh-oh, Mark, we can hear you in the background there. We're going to bring him on in a second. He's super excited to come on live. So Pets Plus is the newest industry's publication about all of these essential business building resources for pet stores, pet boutiques, kennels, groomers, cat sitters, dog walkers, and pretty much any pet business that deals directly with consumers. Okay, you want to follow Pets Plus online or make sure you get a subscription because they have all the latest pet trends and products and actionable advice that you can implement in your pet business. So I want to make sure you see in January's issue, they also just announced, let me find the little page here, the entries are open. They are open for the America's Coolest Stores for 2018. You need to apply online at petsplusmagazine.com/ACS to enter, because if you are chosen as a Pets Plus Coolest Store, you get featured in all of the issues, not all, but in one of the issues of the magazine coming forward. So definitely don't want to miss out on that. Okay. Woo. Y'all with me? Great. I want to just say one last thing here. Mark, if you can hear me, I would love for you to turn your mic off real quick. So there is a little bit of background noise. All right. How is everybody doing tonight in the chat feed? Woo, gosh. I started these back in 2017, and I am really looking forward to the year ahead. Now, we're starting with the topic of sustainability. Okay, for this issue, because the big story in the magazine is about having a better business for a better world. Beer Paws, Odyssey Pets, Scout and Zoe's, The Green Spot, Polka Dog Bakery, Westpaw, Eco Dog Care, and Planet Dog, and Pet Camp, who I'm speaking with in a little bit, are all proving that sustainability practices can be a win-win. So what does that mean? What does sustainability even mean for your business? I feel like every part of the country probably has different ways that they interpret this information. And I'm sure that there are certain areas of the country who are ahead of the times because their local government, state government have already made it very easy for them to become sustainable. So what does that mean for you? I'd love in the chat if you want to post if you have what you do in your business that makes you sustainable. We're going to talk about what this really means for businesses in the modern world. And the article touches upon this. You know, being sustainable means it's kind of two parts. You have a holistic approach. You want to focus both on this eco-friendliness of your business, and then you also are making a social impact. And all of those together are having a sustainable business. And why should this matter to you? Well, it's because, you know, I'm going to read a direct quote from the magazine on this article. It's from Caitlin Boltland, the founder and executive director of the Pet Sustainability Coalition. So she says that millennials are now the largest consumer population, which we knew that, and they are willing to pay more for sustainable products and services that align with their values, okay? They are willing to pay more for services that align with their values. Are you thinking about that in your own business? She also goes on to say that millennials have taken over the previous generations to become the largest segment in the workforce. So millennials are also willing to take a pay cut to work for a company that integrates environmental and social purpose into their mission. Now that's really something to think about, because not only is the sustainability issue important to them as consumers, but it's also important to them as team members, both of which will be a huge impact in supporting your business. Because if they aren't currently your customers, they're the next generation of your customers on supporting your business from the consumer side and the inside. All right, my guest tonight is Mark Klaiman, who has been in the pet industry for over 20 years. So he is way ahead of these trends. And before I bring him on camera, I'm going to show you a video. Let me pull the video up. They've got a wonderful video from Pet Camp. And, you know, he has, I just want to make sure you know this because you might not have. I'm sure if you registered, you already knew this. But if you're watching it on the replay, Pet Camp was the very first certified green pet care facility in the entire country back in 1997. So he's already been in the pet industry for 21 years. What do you think about that? All right, I'm going to play this video and then we'll talk to Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark, Senior Counselor at Pet Camp, San Francisco, California, where pets do what pets love. What differentiates Pet Camp from any other pet care facility, both in San Francisco and beyond, is that we designed Pet Camp for dogs and cats. Whether it's the massive outdoor space we built for the dogs, the safari solarium we built for cats, the HVAC system that moves the air every 4.5 minutes, radiant heat so we can warm the area where the dogs care most, huge windowsills at Cat Safari. Every little thing was thought about for dogs and cats, not for people. So yeah, so we're not the most glamorous place in the world, and you know, and that's okay because it's not for me and it's not for you, it's for your dog or your cat. What makes doggy daycare at Pet Camp so unique, frankly, is where we are now, the Pet Camp Savannah. I mean, this is 13,000 square feet of outdoor play space for dogs, and we've got another 6,000 square feet in addition to this. I mean, almost 20,000 square feet of outdoor play space. It's the biggest dog park in San Francisco. It's a great place for doggy daycare. Dogs can run around, they can romp. For dogs that want to do all-day play, that's just it. They can do all-day play. For dogs that need a more structured environment, we do playgroups based on size and socialization skills. So on an average day, we have an active adult group, a puppy group, a senior group, a gentle adult group, and a small dog group. It's a unique environment for dogs to do what they want to do, to play, to romp, you know, in a very safe environment. You don't have to worry about your dog wandering off, getting lost at a dog park, being exposed to dogs that don't have vaccines, or you're worried about their behavior. Everything here is done in a structured way. But structured for our use, the dogs just get to have fun.
All right, Mark, are you with us? I can see you there. Why don't you join us on camera here? There we go. Awesome. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you so very much.
So, Mark, did you always think that you would be in the pet industry, like from the very beginning?
Oh, absolutely not.
No?
Oh, no.
At it.
Yeah, no, I think, this is the classic example of be careful what you ask for because you may get it. My now wife and I were dating at our previous careers, thinking about what we could do that would let us take our own dogs to work. And now we end up taking, 120 dogs to work or 150 dogs to work with us every day.
Yeah. Before we talk about pet camp, just because you brought it up, what was your previous career? Like you a little bit,
sure.
You dabbled in this sustainability stuff.
Yeah. So before we opened up pet camp, I actually did hazardous waste enforcement for the United States Environmental Protection Agency out here in California. So I spent, in my mind, I'm still cleaning up a lot of messes. Now they're just dog messes.
That's true. So what I loved in that video is that you talk about how you've designed your facility, not just for you guys, not just for you, but not for you guys at all. You've designed it for dogs and cats in mind. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, I think, when you start thinking about building any pet care facility, you have to sort of balance the needs of both the human consumer, because they have the credit card, and the cat consumer, because those are really your clients. And that's really, we focused more on them, whether it's the outdoor space, the wide windowsills, fresh air, sunshine. We really wanted to focus on them. And we think by focusing on them, their pet parents will come along for the ride.
Right. And that is very, very important. I think it's interesting if you think about these facilities now that have flat TV screens and the boarding suites. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Do you think that adds any value for the dog?
I don't want to speak negatively about anyone else. It's just our philosophy. I have 4 teenage kids. I think when I watch them growing up, I think they got a lot more out of playing outside than playing a video game. I think playing sports and being involved is really, really important in their lives, even as teenagers. And I think that reflects how we treat our dogs and cats as well here.
Yeah, your playground. I love that you've got the sand dunes and the big tires. Lots of places for them to run around and burn that energy. I love it.
Thank you.
So, how in the process of going green, since that's the topic of our conversation tonight, you were the kind of pioneer in the pet space in becoming, the first green pet care facility. Why was that important to you? Let's just start at the very beginning.
Well, I think when we started facing rolling brownouts in California in the year 2000, 2001, there was a lot of political pressure to find more energy for the state of California. Of course, when you don't have enough of something, there's 2 ways to address it. You can either reduce the demand of that thing or increase the supply of that thing. And unfortunately for energy at that time, really increasing supply meant drilling in areas that I personally wasn't in favor of drilling, whether it's off the coast of California or frankly in Alaska. And frankly, neither of those would get sources to us to solve the problem anyway. In that you don't drill today, you don't start drilling today and get gasoline or power to us today. And so we took the other approach and sort of started thinking about what we could do to reduce our impact and our need for power. And at the time, electricity was the thing we used the most of. To put it in context, in 2000, the electric bill for the building I'm in, the main campground, was $25,000 a year. We have now got it to be significantly below $7,000 a year.
Wow.
You're using a lot less power and we're spending a lot less money.
Mm-hmm. And you did that by installing solar panels, right?
Well, there's lots of different steps that we took along the way. So it's hard to sort of say exactly how much came from any one. And there's big steps and little steps. There's little steps that involve just changing human behavior. And sometimes those are the hardest steps. Frankly, people to turn off the lights when they leave a room or to turn off the TV when they finish their break. There's slightly bigger steps, changing your light bulbs, whether they're currently using those 2-inch long, wide fluorescent bulbs, either going to narrower fluorescent bulbs or LEDs, You can change some of your electrical systems. And then, of course, we changed a lot of our HVAC and installed solar panels as well. So there's lots of incremental steps along the way.
Mm-hmm. So are there any disadvantages at all to going green?
There's not a disadvantage in the sense that, well, I guess it depends on how you value it, honestly. In my personal view, is there is no disadvantage. But that's not to say there aren't costs associated with going green. It's how you balance those costs, how comfortable you are with ROI, your return on investment. As a small family-owned business, I can sort of say, I'm comfortable with my solar panels taking X amount of years to pay for themselves, or this high-volume, low-speed fan taking X amount of years to pay for itself, or whatnot. Now, other people might have a different philosophy on how long they're willing to wait for that return. Mm-hmm. There's also the time involved in your personal commitment to the cause. In that most of us don't have environmental engineers on staff, so we can't turn to a team member and say, "Hey, I want to learn high volume, low speed fans," or "I want to learn about alternatives to this or that." Frankly, you end up spending the time yourself. You're on the phone, you're on the internet, you're talking to experts, you're asking a lot of questions, and most people haven't thought about some of that technology in the pet space. For example, our high volume, low speed fans, we have these 20-foot diameter ceiling fans. They spin only at 14 RPM.
You said 20 foot?
20 foot. So it looks like a big helicopter's landed upside down in the building.
Oh, wow.
They only move at 14 rounds per minute. So they move super, super slowly. They move 68,000 cubic feet per minute of air and only use 58 watts of power. So less than an old light bulb. Now, no one had ever used them in the pet care industry before, so we had to talk to the vendor about how it would work. Why would it work? Would it not work? We had to equate it from, they had installed a lot of them for cows. Mm-hmm. So would they work for dogs? Why would they not work for dogs? Then we had to talk to our power supplier, because one of the big things that comes up when you go green is, frankly, who's going to pay for this investment? How much is the small business going to pay? Are there tax rebates available? Are there incentives from your power company available? How do you sort of work all that out? Who's going to help you work all that out? And that's a process when no one else has really applied it in your industry before.
Right. Are there things, speaking of that, are there things now since well, so you started let me go back real quick. You started in 97, you opened in 97. You
Correct.
Mentioned it in the early years, you were there, you and your wife started this together, and you often spent nights taking turns spending the night at pet camp, and that one of you always had to have another job just to get through.
Correct.
So were you able to implement any of these things right away early on, or is this something that because of those time commitments you just said and the research and investment that it kind of needs to wait until your cash flow is better or your time is more available?
So I think that's a really good question. For us, we were unable to do any of this the first 2.5 years we were open. Now, I don't know if it's also when we opened. We opened in 97. A lot of this stuff wasn't on people's radar.
Sorry.
So I don't know if when we're starting now, whether one would have that same problem of getting started and ramping up. But for us, yes, we spent the first couple of years getting our feet underneath us from a business perspective, because I want to stress, while I'm a big proponent of being a green business and doing the right thing, it doesn't matter how green you are if you're no longer in business. You have to make the right decision for your business as well as for the environment. How you define that, how you balance those things, that's a very personal issue, but you still have to make the right decision. You can't go out of business.
Oops, sorry, I apologize for the barking in my office.
Sure.
I think it's a common problem in the pet industry.
It is. Mine is napping over there in the corner.
So now with that we're a little bit more advanced in the conversation or further along in the conversation, are there resources? You might have been the first and how to do things. Are there resources now for the pet industry to go to? What do you recommend?
Well, sure. Yeah, I mean, first of all, there are more vendors who are concerned about environmental impacts of their products or their appliances or whatnot. So there's the whole sort of supply side now that has been more mature and more robust. Depending on where you are, there are also other resources and expertise to call upon. I mean, for better or worse, we are in Northern California. We have PG&E as our service provider. They have a lot of incentives to avoid having to build another plant, another power plant. And they're willing to to give you money to reduce your demand on the grid so that they don't have to get another power plant built in Northern California, because they probably never will get one built. And they know that. And so they have funds available to, change your HVAC, change your lighting or whatnot. There are nonprofits or other groups that have a mission of these causes. And oftentimes they very much want to work with small businesses to show that this is not just a theoretical issue and not a theoretical solution, that there are practical on the ground ways to sort of address environmental concerns and environmental impacts. And then small businesses, frankly, are the way to do it, because if you aggregate all of our needs as small businesses, we are the biggest user of everything. But we are also the hardest to sort of mobilize and organize. I think is reflected in a whole bunch of other issues for small businesses.
Right.
But yeah, there's great resources out there, but it does take a little bit of time and perhaps a little energy, so to speak, to find them.
So they would need to reach out to their local communities, you think, first to just see what's available to them?
I would think the first thing I would do would be to contact your service provider, whether your power and electric company, and frankly your garbage company, and see what incentives, what tools they have that you might be able to avail yourself of. If they're not super helpful, then turn to places like your local municipality. Some governments have a Department of Environment or Department of Energy sort of within the municipal level, and then things like the Chamber of Commerce, because we cannot do this on our own. We don't have the bandwidth, and I frankly don't think we have the expertise. Our jobs is to provide quality pet care, and we have to sort of build this on top of that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a little bit, you've taken advantage of some of the federal and state and other incentive programs. Tell us how tell us more about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'm a big believer in asking for other people's help on this kind of stuff. So yes, we have taken advantage of nonprofits have helped us fund our high volume, low speed vans. PG&E helped fund our lighting retrofit. The state and federal government helped us fund our solar panels. Now, the rebate programs continue to change, frankly, given that was my dog, given the political climate. And, it's going to be sort of an issue of, what's available at the time for what you're doing. And some people offer rebates that are very specific. We will pay for X% of your solar panels. Other places will say, we'll pay you X for every kilowatt hour you reduce consumption. And then, you have to work that out. And there's a little bit of math involved, but a lot of the vendors will do the math for you because they know that their product, the marketability of their product includes the ability to get those refunds and those rebates.
Yeah. So, because the advantages, like once you get through this, the advantages kind of outweigh the process if you're passionate about this. And I think if you're seeing the long-term value of your business and the impact that you're going to make.
Absolutely. I mean, I think also, it's the classic short-term pain, long-term gain. You're jumping a little bit of hoops, you're filling out a little paperwork, you got to do a little time of research. But if you're comfortable with the return on the investment, how long it's going to take for that stuff to pay back, and it sort of meets the other needs that you mentioned in your introduction, how do your consumers feel about, your value statement? How do your employees feel about your value statement? Because those are really important things. Now, they're intangible sometimes. They might be hard to measure, but they clearly have value. Certainly for a small family-owned business, they have value. Right.
So through your process, what kind of roadblocks did you hit?
So I think that there's the first roadblock is just your personal bandwidth. How much time and energy can you really commit to this? And how are you able to get through the frustration of like, that won't work, or this won't work, or how do I get this to work, or how come it works there and not here, kind of thing. Yeah. Then there's sort of an institutional hurdles. I mean, because frankly, pet care is a pretty fragmented industry, or historically was a fragmented industry. Not a lot of experts really understand our needs, can articulate. So when we talk about airflow or whatnot, how that
can they design something that meets our needs, that is also environmentally friendly? And then when we take it to regulators or your power provider, do they understand all of that in a way that, frankly, results in money to you? Mm-hmm. It's a process.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the institutional hurdles too. I mean, those are just general problems, not even dealing with sustainability. I mean, I know even in my own doggy daycare, if you have a contractor come in and you start talking about renovations, all I say is constantly like, the dog pee and the chewing, you have to be able to build something that can withhold the dog pee and the chewing. They just destroy everything. And they're always like, yeah, we've got it. And it like never works.
Right.
Or you can even go to the even business insurance for pet care providers, whether you're a daycare or dog walking company. They don't really even understand if your agent doesn't understand doggy daycare, because some of the towns they live in may not even have these services yet, or they may not be a dog owner. They don't understand the liability and the risk and all of the factors involved. So there's a lot of explaining that you as a business owner have to convey of not only kind of what the experience that you want to have in your facility, but what those needs are, because they are not going to know them because they're not in your industry.
Absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious too, along the way, these roadblocks I'm sure can be tough, but was there ever moments in your projects that you just wanted to stop all of it?
I think that I don't think we affirmatively said, oh, let's throw up our hands. But there are times where you have to move things to the back burner, whether it's because you're sort of frustrated, frankly, or you have to sort of focus on running other aspects of the business, or just life. I mean, you have a lot of stuff going. We all have a lot of stuff going on, both at home and at work, and since we don't have expertise to call upon. Experts within our industry necessarily, or within our business, it's one more thing to take on, and you have to sort of balance how much of it you can take on at any one time. And I think that's okay. I mean, I think it's perfectly fine that we all sort of say, I really care about this, but not today. I want to focus on it tomorrow, or it's just not the highest priority right now.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really brilliant what you just said there too, because I find when I talk to a lot of pet business owners, they are frustrated with themselves. They almost like beat themselves up for not moving ahead faster or not getting something done on their to-do list. And really in the type of industry where we are, whether it's taking care of dogs or working in retail, we're constantly serving customers and taking care of the clients. It's service. Even if you're retail, it's all a service-based business. And so it's okay to like forgive yourself or to let those moments pass so that you can just deal with what you need to deal with in that day and keep just moving forward at the pace that you can.
Right. I mean, you got the sort of long-term and short-term checklist you got to go through.
Yeah. So I would love, we saw a little bit of video and you've talked briefly about these ideas that you've implemented. Let's go into some of the really specific things that you do. And I want to know what was really great about what the sustainability kind of programs you have at your facility, and the ones maybe that weren't so great. Let's walk through them.
Sure. Do you want to go through any order, or should I just pick a few?
Whatever you want. I know we teased in the some of the email to come, and as well we saw it in the video, your Safari Solarium for cats.
Sure. So that honestly, that I cannot say enough. First of all, in our industry, the pet care industry, I think too often cats are an afterthought. I think that's a mistake for a whole bunch of reasons, but I know that's not the topic we're talking about today. Safari Solarium, we originally built to serve two different purposes. The first was, and the primary one, was to entertain the cats. Most urban cats don't go outside to play, so we created an outdoor environment, outdoor in quotes, for the cats to play in. At the same time, it's really like a giant greenhouse, which means it gets really warm, even in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to create a way to passively heat the rest of the building from the greenhouse. It's been a great success. Really, that one is generally pretty easy to implement overall. I like it. Some of our other ones have been more of a hassle. So for instance, we divert a huge percent of our waste stream away from a landfill. We do that to save on our garbage bill, frankly. We divert about 80% of our waste stream away from a landfill. we get credit based on how much we get out of our gray bin into either our blue bin, which is recycling, or our green bin, which is more traditional green waste. Mm-hmm. Green waste goes to a biomass facility, so our green waste gets mixed with other stuff. It creates methane gas, which then turns the turbine and creates electricity. We're fortunate to be able to put our dog poop into the green waste bin.
Yes.
Great on the one hand, right? Except, you're still dealing with a lot of dog poop in a building like ours. You got to keep it separate, which means, sometimes things get in the green waste that they shouldn't, and you don't want to be the one that has to go deal with that problem.
I see. Yeah, I want to touch on this real quick because honestly, Mark, not honestly, but I think this is the whole reason that you were even featured in this magazine. I'm going to give you a little insider secret here.
I'm the king of poop.
So I've got a great relationships with Pets Plus people, and they had proposed a question that they were working on the sustainability thing, and they proposed a question to my community, and I sort of joked, and I said, we personally at my business don't do a lot, but the one of the thoughts we had was, how could we make money off of the dog poop? Because there's so much pooping, and I was like, I made a comment in the group. I said, I was always wondering if there's a way that we can like compost dog poop or like sell it to a farm. Like, I don't know. I just had thrown it out there. And somebody in the group says, there's actually someone who does that. And they connected you with Pets Plus. So what's interesting is I was watching one of your videos on YouTube. I can't show it, I think, for copyright reasons, because it was on ABC's Nightline, back in, I think, 2012. They did a whole segment with his name was it Robert Reed?
Oh yeah. From Recology or Sunset Scavenger at the time.
Is that still the company you work with?
Absolutely, yeah. They have the contract for the whole city.
Yeah. So what they do, everybody, because this is like blew my mind. Okay, this is why I want to talk about it. So what they do, they take their trash hauling company that then takes the dog poop and food scraps, right, and basically turn it into fertilizer and gas for vineyards and organic farms. Okay, so they grind it all up, just like you just said. They put it in the stuff. They make this like biomass of stuff. It goes to this digester, which converts it into methane gas. That gas can be produced produces electricity, which you can use for natural gases and liquefied natural gas and all kinds of like really, really useful stuff. And I mean, my mind was blown, and I'm thinking, like, why isn't every city offering this? Maybe they do, and I don't know about it. I don't know, but I think it's brilliant.
It's been great. It saves us a lot of money in garbage bills, first of all, and it's great. I mean, it's really no additional effort from us. I mean, we still, just like everyone else who scoops poop for a living, we're still scooping all that poop. We just have to make sure it goes into a special bin. And generally, what we try to do is, we feed a lot of dog food here. The bags that the dog food comes out of are actually really good for putting the dog poop back into. So it's a nice closed loop system.
Okay, got it. I like it.
It works great.
I'm going to put a link in the chat here real quick of what that video was to just show it to everybody.
Sure.
So you've got you're composting the dog poop. Is there something else? There was something else really unique that you're doing with, is it with the hair too? Or no, not the hair, maybe.
Well, the only time we ever collected hair was when there was an oil spill. And there was a third-party vendor that was making berms out of dog fur and ship it to them. But we don't do that on a regular basis. Okay. We've done a lot of, we've changed a lot of our equipment so that it runs more efficiently. But really the big ticket items we've done are things like the solar panels. We use a lot of tankless water heaters so that we don't have, big water heaters on all the time. Passive heating. The Big Ass Fans, that's actually the brand we use. It's called Big Ass Fan.
Oh, it is the brand name. I just thought that was a joke. But no, awesome.
Oh, no, that's not a joke. That is the brand name. But it's constant. I mean, it's also just like what supplies you buy, how much, post-consumer recycled content is your paper. Just goofy stuff. It all adds up. Each incremental change has value. And most of the small changes don't require a big investment in time or energy. They make a lot of sense to do.
So you have mentioned in the past that some of these trends, that because you were the trendsetter in all of this for the pet industry, you had to go outside of the industry and other places and kind of swipe some of these ideas. Do you
Sure.
continue to do that and look for new innovations?
We do. You know, the big ass fans, the high volume, low speed fans, clearly were never designed for pet care. They were designed for dairy barns. And so we did a lot of work talking to those folks about, could it work in our kind of industry, and would it work in an indoor building, because they were designed for dairy farms, which were outside. We continue to look at other things, what other people are doing, but it gets harder in some ways. I mean, you just have to begin to sort of move it further and further along. I mean, one of the things we're looking at now to sort of increase natural light and natural airflow in our building is a massive retractable roof. I mean, it wasn't designed for the pet care industry, but we have to sort of think about, you know, as we implement those kind of changes, what are the value added to pet care first and foremost? And then how do we equate that with our environmental ethos? I mean, we'll have a lot more natural light. It's a great disinfectant, a lot more natural airflow. We can maybe tweak our HVAC a little bit, save some power there. You know, all those sort of become part of the equation. But a lot of it is looking at what other people have done elsewhere, and can you bring it into our industry in a meaningful way?
Mm-hmm. And so what are some other trends or innovations that you're seeing, whether they're about sustainability or in general for the pet care space?
I think the biggest things we're seeing, I mean, and hopefully we will continue to see, is changes in technology. Mm-hmm. You know, you mentioned in the introduction about millennials, you know, being the largest consumer of pet care now. They have more pets than anyone else. They expect us to be able to use technology in a much more meaningful way than I think the industry has traditionally used. And I think that's reflected both in the software most of us still use to run our businesses, whether it's, you know, back of house operations or POS, the way we correspond with our clients. You know, most of us are still very phone motivated and tied to our phone. We use a lot of email, but do we use other means of communication? I think those are all things that we need to continue to invest in. And I think, frankly, just like sustainability, they are investments and they are not cheap up front. But then, of course, hopefully your clients are more receptive to them, more responsive. You're able to capture more market share, and you get a return on that investment. But I think that's actually something that, as an industry, we have not done a very good job with.
I have to agree with you on that too, because we at my pet care facility as well, like we were using the same software from a while ago, and we just got to a point where it's like our customers are demanding more, and so we have to change our software platforms to be more integrated with being able to communicate with the clients and give them access and make also our internal stuff much easier. So, and it's also us as business owners being more adaptable to accepting those changes, and you know, and always kind of looking for ways to improve ourselves instead of the mindset of woe is me. You know, the internet is taking my business. You know, there's a lot of actionable items that we can take if we just step out of our comfort zone sometimes, right?
Right. I mean, change is coming, so we might as well be part of it as opposed to just letting it sort of overtake us.
Yes.
And I think clients will respond very favorably, even if we, you know, make a mistake along the way. You know, right. Not every change is going to be great, and you know, you implement something and you realize X amount of time later it wasn't such a great idea. You back up and you admit it and you move on. Right.
You can't. I think there's a saying that indecision is the death of an entrepreneur, and it's like you can always change a decision that you've made, but if you never just take that step, then you'll never know. You'll never see that growth.
Absolutely.
So what other, you know, you obviously have a very big full-out business philosophy about being green and taking care of the animals. What are some of your other big company culture or big business philosophies that you live by?
Sure. So that's a great question. I mean, we often get asked about our company culture here at Pet Camp. And we flippantly say that our company culture is we have no culture. It's a very reverent place.
I love that.
You know, pretty much anything goes. But honestly, I think the one thing that keeps me focused about how I want people here to behave and people to be treated. I'm an older guy. I have 4 teenage kids. I often think about how I would want a boss to treat my own kids. Mm-hmm. because I mean, a lot of our employees are not going to stay in these jobs forever. We can only be so big. We can only promote so many managers, what have you. We're really preparing younger folk for their next set of jobs. And we take that really personally here, whether it's both in sort of the compensation package we try to give them, our scholarship programs, our training or whatnot, but really it's about how we just want them treated as people, and how I would want my own kids treated by their bosses, and what we would expect from each other. And I think it really does help, because most of our employees are in their 20s or in their 30s, and I think understanding what they need, both what they need from us as employers, but also the other roles we play in their lives is pretty important. I mean, it can be a little touchy-feely, and it can distract you a little bit, but I do think I think it adds to the commitment. We have employees here. We've been open 20 years. We have employees who've been here 16.
Yeah. Wow. That does a lot.
Yeah. That's unusual.
It is unusual, especially in our industry. And it says a lot, too, about you guys as leaders, the environment that you provide for people. And I think that, even in my own business, I think in my early years, because I started in 2006, in my early years, I had hired someone who was 16 because it was a customer's client, customer's daughter. And she's like, when can she work here? She loves, to work at my boutique. And I was like, sure, you have to be 16, and like thinking that she'd forget, and then, a year and a half goes by and she turns 16 and she applies. So I hired her, and she didn't know how to vacuum because her mom didn't ever teach her to vacuum. And I was so frustrated because I was also early on in my leadership role ever. And I was so frustrated. I felt like I shouldn't have to teach you how to do these things. And then I made it a rule almost in my own company where I did not want to ever be anyone's first job. Now, fast forward, and, many years, I've been in the industry 15 years, you fast forward, and I think you get older and you get wiser too. And to your point, we now have a very different company culture where I give people more chances, because it's almost like, you can only do better when you know better. And you provide now opportunities to say, okay, that really wasn't what I expected, but this is my expectation. And I'm going to help you learn what you need to learn. And let's see if you can, step up kind of, and it gives them an opportunity and a challenge. And I think that that's obviously what you're providing in your business too. It's really important.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree.
All right. So you mentioned that you have 4 teenage children. 3 of them are triplets.
Yes, I have a 17-year-old triplets and a 15-year-old.
Wow.
It's kind of it was a crazy house. It's always been a crazy house. It just gets crazy for different reasons. But I think, our industry are parents and have sort of raised their kids as they've raised their business, so to speak. Yeah. And watch both the business, their kids, and of course themselves mature through all that.
Do your kids ever work at the business?
They do. They work here over the summers and over holidays. They would always, I think most of them prefer to work somewhere else. I mean, working for your dad or your mom or your mom, it can be hard. But the great thing is they're a conduit to other kids. If you need extra help over the summers or holidays, a bunch of high school seniors are a great resource. And if they go away to college, they're home when you need them most.
Exactly. The holidays. Yep.
So,
very true.
And at least in San Francisco, there's always a need for some of these kids to have jobs. Mm-hmm. The economy is really good right now, but in less than great times, those are the kids that struggle the most to get a summer job. And it can be both fun money and it can be important money to a household, depending on their needs.
Right. Okay, everybody, we are going to open it up now to our Q&A portion. And I see we've got some questions in the chat thread. If you have any questions for things we've talked about already or that we haven't covered, feel free to put them in the chat. And if you're watching this after the fact, if you're watching a replay, you can type them in the comments and I will try to respond, or I'll tag Mark and we can see if he can respond back in. Now, ahead of time, we did have a couple questions come through. Let me pull those up. We had a question about what your #1 source for new business is.
So it's changed over time. Back in the day when we opened, of course, there were things called the Yellow Pages. and direct veterinary referral. I would say now the vast majority of our business comes in through the internet in different forms and from different sources, whether it's, classic, you've SEO'd your website out the wazoo and people are just finding you for search, or it's social media. We do a lot of work on social media, both blogging, newsletters, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that kind of stuff. So yes,
it's also on social media, or just engaging on social media?
Both. We comment on things. We write on things. It's an important part of who we are. First of all, it's our voice. It's a way to get out to a wider community, but also engage in important topics.
Yeah, you guys have really embraced video and having conversations and teaching through video too. So that's really cool.
Yeah, we try to post a video or two every month, either about a topic that's going on or just something fun. Because I think sometimes we take ourselves a little too seriously.
Yeah.
And so we will often just do something just for a lark.
Yeah. Okay, so we do have a couple questions about things we talked about. Let's go into that. Let me find them. Okay. So Kim, she wants to know, we're going back to the fans here. Okay. She wants to know how you decided on the fresh air exchange at 4.5 minutes. Does it follow the air exchange of perhaps a hospital?
So I don't know about the hospital, but back when we were opening up, that was it was recommended you had it anywhere between 4.5 and 8 times, every 4.5 minutes to 8 minutes. And we went at the end. I don't know about hospitals, frankly, about that. One of the things that we have done in the last couple of years is we've added UV germicidal lights to our facility, which is a hospital-grade disinfectant technology, frankly, to deal with the concerns of airborne pathogens and airborne viruses. It's just another way to clean our air.
She also had a question. I can't find it here, but I read it a little bit earlier. With the mounds, they watched the video of like the mound of sand dogs. Right. I actually had a question about that too, but her question was, because I'm sure they really get in there and get dirty. Yeah. Do pet parents always asking for the baths, or do you do baths complimentary? How have you worked that into your playground? Because there is a lot of dirt.
Sure. Yeah. So let's start with the mounds themselves. The mounds are basically, we get our dirt delivered by big dump trucks. They just dump it. And frankly, rather than us taking the time or energy to spread it out, we just let the dogs spread it out. So that's how that started. And yeah, we wipe down the dogs. I mean, if they're coming in, really dirty from outside playing, we wipe them down. We give them a quick rinse, things like that. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to send home a dirty dog. We encourage people to book baths because, it's like sending your kid to sleepaway camp or day camp. They're going to be dirty. You can either have them washed here or you can wash them at home. But of course, you don't want to irk a client if you don't need to.
Yeah. What got me thinking about that, the sand issue, was that one dog was digging and having a blast.
Oh, yeah.
But the counter argument to that might be that, well, a dog might go home and now do that in his yard or at home, and the bad behavior will continue. Because in full disclosure, we had that happen with water hoses. We use water hoses to clean off, and then some dogs love it, so we're spraying it up in the air, and the dogs are jumping at the water hoses. They're having a blast, we think. Sure. And then the mom gets home, and she's not mom, but they're at home watering their garden, and the dog comes jumping and attacking her at the water hose, and she's like, "What is happening?" So does that same thing happen with digging?
Well, so, I mean, for better or worse, we are in San Francisco. Most of us don't have yards big enough to have that kind of amount of dirt. So we've not heard about it, which doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But so far, it has not been brought back to us as a concern from a client.
That's good. That's good. All right. So I'm probably not pronouncing this right, but it's either Zabi, maybe. She wants to know, or he wants to know, how do you manage the kids and the business when they were younger? This person currently has 3 teens, 1 preteen, a 9-year-old, and a 9-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 4-month-old. Wow.
Wow.
3 teens, and then 1 preteen, a 9-year-old, 5-year-old, and 4-month-old. Wow. It's the single biggest issue for her right now, or with the time management currently at the moment.
So I don't think there's any good way to do it. Be completely upfront. I mean, as a dad, especially, there's that inherent stress between should I be at work or should I be with my kids? I suspect it's the same with moms. And I actually think that stress is okay because it means you're committed to both. Not a great answer, I know. My wife and I, we just spent a lot of time sort of like allocating tasks to each other. Who's going to do what? Who's going to be where? When the kids were super, super little, frankly, we brought them to work a lot. Our kids are much more compact in age spread than Zab. So, we had that luxury. And now that they're older, frankly, it's a lot easier. But when they're super little, yeah, it's a lot of running around. It's a lot of running around.
Yeah, I don't think you have to.
Anyone does it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I would assume you have to have some sort of help or time to say, I'm gonna be with my family during these times, and I'm gonna hire help to watch, and I'm gonna go work on business things that are critical in these times. And you probably have to get really clear. You have to get really clear and very disciplined on limiting all other distractions when you know what you need to do that needs to get done, and then make sure you spend.
You have to prioritize what you're going to get done, and frankly, what you no longer care about, or even if you care about, you have to acknowledge you're not going to get it done. And what you're going to farm out. Whether it's cleaning of your house because you just can't do it, whether it's cooking meals, you're going to bring things in, or you're going to, you have to sort of balance sort of what your priority is and how much stress it's going to cause you, and what you can afford as well.
All right, we have another question. So what have you been your two biggest positive surprises?
About the whole business?
Sure, anything that's like over the line. What are some big surprises, positive?
I actually really love our client base. Like, we've been open 20 years. As a consumer, often when you're out, you sometimes think that things are going south, or, interactions aren't good. I mean, in all these years, I can probably count on one hand the clients I would rather never see in my lobby again. And I just think that was a reflection of our industry and the service kind of we provide, and perhaps just who we are. But that's great. They're like, I want to hang out in my lobby and just talk to the clients. I mean, the dogs are wonderful, obviously, and the cats are always great too. But like, that interaction with the humans is wonderful. It allows you to feel part of your community, hear what's going on in their lives, watching them mature. I mean, you see a puppy becomes an adult dog and sadly passes over the bridge, and then you also watch those kids, right? Who the kids are in your lobby, trashing your retail shelves one year, and then they're off to college. And being part of people's lives like that, I think, is tremendously rewarding and something I never anticipated happening. But
yeah,
it's been wonderful.
I'd have to say the same thing. It's wild when people come into your store, they get their first dog, and their child is 6 or 7, and then now I'm like, they're going off to college, and then they're looking for jobs. It is a really weird. It also validates. You're like, gosh, wow, I've been in business a long time, and then then you realize.
But it's also wonderful to be an important part of people's lives.
Yes.
They're turning to you to do things and to be part of their lives and to share those experiences, whether it's going off to college, going to a kid's wedding or whatnot. I mean, it's really quite enriching. I think I have been amazing.
Yeah. So I always love to look. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. I always like to end, asking for some more resources or business tips or podcasts or books and things that you really adapted in your own entrepreneurial journey.
Sure.
So what would you like to share with us today?
So I guess, I was thinking about like last year, the books I read and sort of what they did for the business. And I guess there were 3 that come to mind. Mm-hmm. The first is called Black Box Thinking. And it's all about why certain people in certain industries learn from mistakes and others don't. Because clearly we're all going to make mistakes, and it's really it's a book about how you respond to that and how you dig deep into not about attribution of blame, but what happened, why it happened, how do we avoid it going forward. And it's really well written. It's easy to read. The second is this book called The Checklist Manifesto. Lots of people look at checklists and sort of are insulted by them. But this book talked about how checklists are just a way to free your brain to think about more important things And the checklist stuff, the stuff you have to do in an order a certain way every day, every time, don't worry about it. Use the checklist, free your brain to be creative. And the last one is a book by Daniel Pink, who's written a lot of books. But the book I read last year was To Sell is Human. And it's really about how in everyday interaction, we have to get people to do something that they might otherwise not be inclined to do. Yeah. Whether it's your kids, whether it's your employees, or whether it's a client. And,
or it's trying to get attention right now.
Yeah, exactly. Mine's like sitting on my feet, like bugging me. And all three books are not necessarily written for our industry at all. I would suggest that some of them aren't written for businesses at all. But it's, they're really very easy books, and they're really, I think they allow you to think about yourself and how you operate your business and your culture and your employees in a different way than perhaps we often do.
Right. Well, Mark, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight and for contributing to the magazine, and I hope that you continue the conversation with us in our communities here at Pets Plus and at Pet Boss Nation. For everyone that's watched, I appreciate all your questions and engagement. And if you want to continue the conversation, you're welcome to join me and the other Pet Boss Nation people on our Facebook group. Just search Pet Boss Nation in Facebook and you'll find us. And if you want to check out more of Mark's videos on YouTube, search for Pet Camp. You're hard to miss. And just thank you so much, guys. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your January. And we will see you very soon on the next episode of Pets Plus Live Beyond the Pages. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you so very much.
You're very welcome.